Hi, so we've been looking at developing emotional intelligence at the workplace, and during the last clip, we focused on developing emotional intelligence through being more self-aware and through how we manage our emotions. And through by being self-aware, here we mean that understanding your emotions, knowing your feelings, what feelings you're experiencing at any given time, and then understanding also your emotional strengths and weaknesses. These are emotional, emotional strengths are emotions such as being optimistic, being self-driven, being self-motivated, just being kind, empathetic. Those are some of the emotional strengths that we need to be more. We need to be more emotionally intelligent. And then your emotional weaknesses are those emotions that you need now to work on as you develop emotional intelligence. And these are emotions such as being vengeful, being negative, that negative outlook at all times, being mean. Maybe you find yourself always exuding some meanness of some sort, or being overly angry, annoyed at times, or overly impatient, overly critical. So those are some of the emotional weaknesses that we'd be looking out for as we develop emotional intelligence. And then we said that we need to remember, as we develop emotional intelligence in being self-aware, we also need to remember that emotions are temporal, emotions are fleeting, they are not permanent, and so we should not make permanent decisions or permanent reactions based on a temporal state of mind. We said that your emotions are your emotions are not permanent, but your reactions are, because people will always remember a confrontation that you brought out at some point. People will always remember a nasty scene that you found yourself in, but you got into that confrontation from a fleeting emotion. And so that is what we want to find ourselves out of. And so always also remember that emotions impact, and so you need to know, as you become more self-aware, you need to know how they impact on the people around you. And then also in developing, now we talked about managing our emotions. So a person who manages their emotions understands that emotions are not managing emotions is not about bottling them up. It's not about keeping them and not being able to talk about emotion, about what is bothering you. And managing your emotions also does not make you the weaker person. If anything, it makes you the bigger person. It makes you the more mature person, because you are the person who understands what the repercussions or the consequences of an emotion or a response to an emotion that will be felt for a long time to come. So how you manage your emotions, you understand, you need to know how to manage your emotions. You need to know how they impact the people around you. And then in managing emotions, we also say that it's important that you understand that sometimes you need to keep away from the stress triggers, or know how to manage your stress triggers, because you need to keep off what it is that upsets you. So in the office, what upsets you? Is it a colleague? Is it do you need to talk about it, or do you need to just stay away from it and sometimes just avert that stress into something more useful for you, something that you love doing? So maintain a work-life balance also. As you manage your emotions, learn to maintain a work-life balance. Sometimes if you do not maintain that work-life balance, then you find yourself dealing with a myriad of emotions that would ultimately mess you up. So learn when to say no to a situation in the office that will get you upset. Of course, you now, as you develop your emotional intelligence, you know how to say no and when to say no. And then also learn to take a break from such situations. Take up a hobby that you like doing. Do your workouts. Do something that you love doing, sometimes in staying away from those triggers. And then always be calm, because an emotionally intelligent person needs to maintain calm at all times if you can. And because that also helps us in the way we manage conflict. And then always know that you need to think before you react or respond to any situation. So as we continue, we talk about developing our social skills. Social skills in the office. You have you deal with your bosses, you deal with your supervisor, you deal with your colleagues, you deal with customers, the different players that we deal with. How do you interact with them? And it's really important as we learn how to interact with people. One of the things that we find ourselves always doing is listening. Communication entails a lot of listening. So it's really important that we learn how to listen to people, listen to what is being said, learn to ask questions when you need to clarify something, and then learn to also give feedback. A lot of times we forget to give feedback. A lot of times we do not understand what is actually being said, and we find ourselves very fast to respond to a situation. And that is when you come from a point of not being very clear, or from a point where there is no clarity, then you might respond in the wrong tone. You might respond in the wrong way, and that sets off a conflict that was absolutely not necessary, even in the office. So learn to listen. Don't shoot down people. Don't do not avoid, learn to understand what is being said. Always, sometimes we find ourselves also in the midst of people who are very good at avoiding what is being said. Do not avoid or rather stop people from saying what they're saying, but rather learn to listen. And then as you listen, you're able to give a response that is ideal, that is appropriate for that situation. And then also in developing our social skills, the other thing we need to do is just learn when to bring out a certain situation. You need to be a bit more aware of your surrounding at any time, and then now learn when to bring up certain issues. For instance, in the office, learn, for instance, when it's time to make a certain point, put a certain point across, and also learn when it's not the right time. Learn the right, know your audience at any given time whenever you're dealing with people. Remember, we talked about target audience, and not everything is for everybody in the office. You need to know when to project whatever form of communication you're projecting, and to the right people. And then stay away from office drama. That is really important. We are not saying be antisocial. We are only saying be careful about office drama, because when you find yourself always in a state of office drama, whenever it is that you find yourself always dealing with either confrontations, or people know that you're always in the eye of whatever drama there is in the office at any given time. Sometimes you can find yourself losing credibility with people. And so it's really, really important as we develop emotional intelligence to know where to be at the right time, to know what to take in, what not to take in. That's really, really important, because at the end of the day, the office is a hub of social interactions. So if you are not able to put a barrier when a barrier is necessary, then you will find yourself involved in all sorts of activities or situations that will ultimately put you in an awkward position, probably. So at the end of the day, remember that it's really crucial that you make your stand known in a lot of issues in the office, and that involves also in how you respond, whether to drama or whether to the social interactions that you have around you. And then empathy, being empathetic, it simply means looking at other people's perspective, seeing things from other people's perspective. If you're in a meeting, if you're in a team, don't shoot down people's ideas. it's not always about you. It's always also about the people that you're with. And so it's important that you learn to listen to what people are saying and contribute appropriately. And then also understand when people are going through issues that they are going through. It doesn't mean that when you're empathetic, it doesn't mean that you are a weakling. It only means that you're sensitive enough to the people around you, and you're able to reason or react accordingly at the situation at that point. And when you also are empathetic, you're able to make judgments, or not just judgments, but you're able to make conclusions based on a factual on factual cases, also coming from a factual point of view, not from an assumption. So it's important that, and when you're empathetic as well, people are able to trust you, people are able to know that they can approach you. So that's really, really critical. And then the last pillar is self-motivation. So on self-motivation, remember that it's important that you always keep yourself motivated and maintain that drive to do your best, because remember, that's where your performance is likely to be generated from your drive and from your motivation. And then sometimes a lot of us may find ourselves in probably you find yourself in a job and you're thinking, this is not what I've been wanting to do. Before you get to where you want to be, keep yourself motivated, because you have to deliver your best. Keep yourself self-driven, and be a self-starter. Be a person who will drive themselves to do their best. Sometimes some of the most successful people, it was probably never about the money or anything, and you can derive job satisfaction from the way you motivate yourself and from the way you keep yourself driven. So always call upon your strong emotions at any time. Whenever you find yourself wanting to give up or wanting to just go, wanting to find, whenever you find yourself wanting to sort of just let's say give up on whatever you're doing, remember to call on your very strong emotions and call upon some self-will of some sort to push you to do the best that you can do, because that will also help you in realizing your own personal goals, not just the goals at the workplace, but your own personal goals. And as you do that, it doesn't mean that you're not ambitious. It means that you have a plan and you will drive yourself towards achieving that plan. So I hope this session has been helpful. Next session will take up the different people and the different triggers that call upon our emotional intelligence at the workplace. So let's keep it here. All the best. Thank you.